me, it's just hot today. Hello, today I'm going to be talking about my A-levels or my A-level experience, whatever you'd like to call it. I did my A-levels from 2015 to 2017, which means my sort of year group at college or sixth form, whatever, were the first year to do the new style of A-level, like linear A-levels. So I thought I'd talk you through it because you might be starting your A-levels, or you might be halfway through them, you might be like, how do I survive this? So yeah, I'm literally just going to talk about all my subjects, how I found them, how I found the exams, and all that jazz. So, I'm going to start off with psychology, I think, because that's the one I'm planning to do at university. I am filming this video in July, and I probably won't upload it till end of August. So, yeah, I don't know my grades yet, basically, from my exams. Throughout my 2 years of sixth form education, I did 4 ASs and an EPQ, and then obviously 3 of the ASs I took to the full A level. So the first subject I'm going to start off with is psychology. This is a subject I want to continue doing at university. I just find it really fascinating. If you don't know what it is, psychology is basically the study of human behaviour, and sort of how your brain interprets situations, and how thoughts can change your bodily functions and stuff like that. So we studied a lot about mental health. We studied a lot about depression, phobias, and OCD, and we studied schizophrenia too. So I'm going to start off with first year psychology. Breathe. So in the first year of psychology, we started doing the approaches. So in psychology, there's different kind of sections. There's different sort of groups of people, and they study things slightly differently. So there's the biological approach, who look at sort of the scientific side of psychology, so your neurons and your hormones and how they affect your behaviour, and sort of synaptic transmission, that kind of thing. So I'd say if you study if you're choosing to do biology, that bit will probably help you out in that aspect of psychology. So yeah, there's the biological approach, the humanistic approach, which just kind of looks at you as a whole and your whole sort of life, and that's where sort of therapy came from. And then there's also, what other approaches are there? I've forgotten them already. There's the cognitive approach, which is kind of it's a very sort of theoretical one where they use schemas. So schemas are basically kind of based on experience. So kind of when you walk into a classroom, you know to sit down and sort of listen to the teacher, hopefully. You wouldn't go into a classroom and walk on the table sort of thing. So you kind of have schemas for every situation. And they also use computer analogies. So they believe information gets inputted into our brains, and then we kind of process it and output a response. What else is there? I think there's 5 or 6 approaches we studied. So yeah, there's biological, humanistic, cognitive, what other one was there? Oh, psychodynamics. So this involves Freud, who you probably heard of. He's very sort of concerned with we studied him more for gender development and sort of what else did we look at him at? And obviously he's one of the approaches, but he kind of looks at the psychosexual stages of development, which are a bit disturbing but is really interesting at the same time. So he believes we establish our gender by being jealous of our parents. So basically he believes with boys, they're in love with their mothers, and then they kind of fear their dad because their dad has a penis. It's really weird. And then to resolve their castration anxiety, oh yeah, because they believe their dads will chop off their penis or something like that. So to resolve this castration anxiety, they will kind of identify with their dad, and sort of bond with him and realise they're also a boy. So it's okay, I think. And then there's the behaviourist approach, which looks at operant and classical conditioning. So an example of operant conditioning, please say I got this right, No, classical conditioning is where is involves Pavlov's dogs, which is one of like the biggest studies you'll learn in psychology. Speaking of dogs, Stanley. So yeah, Pavlov found that obviously when you present food to a dog, like their mouth like salivates, and then he found pairing this with a like ringing of a bell, like the dogs learnt to salivate to a bell rather than just to food, because it's kind of like all about association. And then operant conditioning is like punishment, rewards, and punishment, negative reinforcement, and positive reinforcement. So yeah, that's like basically the behaviourist approach. And there's social learning theory, which is when we like learn from our environment. So we like learn from watching our parents do things or watching our friends do things. So yeah, that's kind of approaches. There's probably another approach I've forgotten as well, but you never mind. I haven't looked at psychology in like 2 weeks, so bear with. So yeah, first year we started doing the approaches, and we also studied deviation. What was it called? Was it abnormality? I think that was like the big topic. But that's where we said like depression, OCD, and what was the other thing? Phobias. And that's the thing I probably found most interesting, because it's kind of like I've always been interested in like sort of mental health and like kind of helping people. So when I started studying that, I thought, yeah, this is really what I want to do when I'm older. We also looked at attachment, so sort of how babies form attachments with their like parents and like family. What else did we do in first year? We did social influence as well, which was quite interesting. We did memory. Memory was probably one of the harder topics. It was very, very technical. So I'd say for psychology we did like I think we did 5 topics in the first year, and then like 4 topics in the second year with like more research methods. So research methods is like how you would carry out a psychological investigation. So you look at how they sample people, like what makes a good hypothesis, like negative and positive correlations and things like that. It's a very like chunky topic, but it's quite sort of easy to learn. It's just sort of like this is that kind of thing. Like if you've done an ISA at GCSE, you'll like know like you'll know things like variables and things like that. So yeah, that was kind of first year. Then what was the other? Oh, this is so annoying me. So yeah, we did approaches, abnormality, research methods, because we had 2 papers in the first year. Social influence. God, what were the other things we did? Oh my god, this is so bad. Oh, this is really going to irritate me. But yeah, basically in the first year we had 2 papers and like 3 topics on each. So I found it sort of quite easy to revise for and like spread my time out over. And then second year psychology, I do remember all the topics we did. So we did aggression, schizophrenia, issues and debates, and like the rest of research methods. So issues and debates is kind of like a branch of research methods, I'd say. Oh, and we also did the rest of the approaches as well, because we didn't know like humanistic and stuff in the first year. But so issues and debates is kind of like looking at nature versus nurture, like holistic approaches versus deterministic approaches, and kind of things like that. It sounds a bit like complicated if you don't sort of study psychology, but yeah, it's just kind of looking at the different debates and sort of like looking at bias as well, and sort of which approaches are better for what kind of thing. I actually didn't mind that topic. I know a lot of my friends found it really like dull, and like it really didn't, like they didn't really kind of get it, but for me I can sort of pick up on debates and like argue things quite well in essays, because I'm a very sort of essay person, so I didn't really mind that. But however, I did find aggression, gender and schizophrenia quite hard as topics. Like I did enjoy schizophrenia, but again it's very sort of technical, and because it's such a like sort of illness that hasn't been very well researched, and like it's quite hard to find out the causes of it and stuff. It's very ambiguous in parts, so it can be hard to like explain how the treatments work and how how people explain it, because in in my first sort of year of psychology, I was sort of going up and down between a B and a C, which was like fine. Like I think I was predicted to B in the first year, and that's what I got. I got a B in my AS psychology. So yeah, that was fine. I didn't really mind going up and down, but literally second year of psychology, I was literally getting D's and E's. I was so gutted. Like psychology has been without a doubt the subject I've cried over the most, because it's just really annoying when you find something so interesting and it's something you want to do and you just feel like you're failing it. But I kind of took a step back at one point and thought, you know what, a D is a pass at A level, and when I study at uni I will have more time to study because I'm not doing like 2 or 3 other subjects. So yeah, and I went to extra classes with my teacher and stuff to try and like help me understand more, because the problem was I did understand the topics, but I think because they didn't really interest me that much, like I just wasn't taking it all in, and like when it came to exams I'd be like, oh my god, what am I writing? But anyway. So yeah, probably out of the 3, schizophrenia is probably my like most interesting topic. Gender I found incredibly dull. I was just like, really? Because at the end of the day there's like a difference between sex and gender. Sex is like what you're biologically born with, and it's sort of to do with your genes and chromosomes, but then gender is what you perceive yourself as. So obviously there's like transgender and all the different kind of genders. So and there wasn't very many. I found the studies and like research into it really like dull and a bit kind of vague as well. I don't know, it just wasn't the topic for me. And then aggression, again, I thought it would be really interesting, but it just kind of wasn't. It was very biological. It was just, like basically most of it was like, oh yeah, like men are more aggressive because they have more testosterone. Like that's a lot of what it boiled down to. But because like I thought we'd look at sort of aggression in prisons and stuff. I like the sort of looking at the media and like how they portray aggression, how that makes people more aggressive. I found that a bit interesting, but the rest of it I was a bit like meh. So yeah, that's kind of psychology in a nutshell. I've probably like spoken about that way too long, but as I said, I got a B in my AS grade, but because it was an AS on the new A levels, it doesn't go towards my grade at the end of this year at all, which is really irritating, because I have a feeling I won't do as well this year just because I've struggled with the subjects a lot. And also with my teachers, they weren't great this year. One of them left for about, I think it was probably almost 2 months because she had a hysterectomy. I always forget my camera's filmed in like 20-minute sections, so if I speak more than that it kind of like dies. But anyway, yeah, one of my teachers left because she had a hysterectomy, so obviously she had to take time off for that. And then my other teacher was just literally hopeless. Like, we didn't know at the time, but she was like pregnant, so I think in the early sort of stages, like she was having a lot of like morning sickness, so she would literally like leave and like wouldn't cancel our lessons, we would like turn up and have no teacher. So I feel like a lot with the second year we were like teaching ourselves like the content, and like these topics weren't easy either. So I think my class, like I think the whole of the year struggled a lot with psychology just because of like the teacher issues. But to be fair, at the end, like the last sort of month or 2, like we did get a lot of revision done with the teachers, and they kind of bucked their ideas a bit and helped us out a lot and gave us so many like past papers. Well, I say so many, like the ones they could, they gave us, and like they kind of made up questions for us to do. So, because we're on the new A level, there isn't many past papers. There's like, I think there's 3 specimens online. So I did like all of them as revision, and then any other questions my teacher gave us I did as well, just to kind of prepare myself for any situation. And I found in the exams actually like that there wasn't that many questions which really properly threw me. I think in the like A level exam, which I did like a month ago, I found probably paper 3 the hardest, but again that was because that's the stuff I learnt this year, which I don't feel I know as well as like the topics from last year. So, and also we had 3 essay questions, which I thought was a bit excessive. Like, yeah, I think the whole year kind of wasn't very happy with that, but I definitely felt I tried my best in all the exams, and I can't really do much else now. I just got to wait till results day and just hope I've got the grade to get in. So yeah, that is psychology. Next I'm going to move on to sociology, and I know a lot of people get confused by like what's the difference between sociology and psychology, but sociology is more looking at society like as a whole and sort of different issues within it. So we studied crime, education, stratification and family. So we did family and education in the first year, and research methods. So I found family quite dull, but very sort of straightforward, so I could kind of take it all in, make my notes, and sort of just get on with it really. And I found sort of throughout the year I was getting like sort of mainly B's, a couple of C's, I think I got a couple of A's as well. And at the end of my AS year I got a B, which I was very happy with. And then second year we did crime and stratification, which I found way more interesting, and like sort of sociology as a science, because we didn't do that first year, but it didn't even come up in the exams anyway, so it was a bit pointless. But yeah, I found crime and stratification way more interesting. Like, I think probably out of the four like big topics, probably education was the thing that interested me most, because again, that's what I want to go into. Like, I want to sort of teach kids or help kids out, so kind of looking at why different groups achieve better in the education system really like intrigued me. And then crime I did enjoy, but it was a really big topic I found compared to the others. Like, it took us a good sort of, I remember we started learning it after our AS exams. We did it from like July, and then obviously we had summer holidays, and then I think we didn't finish it until like Christmas. It took a good like 4 or 5 months to like learn it all, which is quite a lot. So in crime we looked at we also did perspectives as well in second year. Like, we learned more about them, because in sociology, kind of like psychology, there's like different perspectives on how they like study society. So there's functionalists who believe like everything in society has a function, like the family has a function, education has a function, and like this sort of contributes to like value consensus. So they kind of believe everyone gets along and everything functions normally and it's all great, which obviously isn't true because there's a lot of conflict in the world. And then there's Marxists who believe capitalism is like a driving force, and there's the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. Bourgeoisie are like the ruling class, and the proletariats are the ones at the bottom who get exploited to like support capitalism. So yeah, they're kind of a more negative theory, but they're better for looking at like conflict in society. And then what other perspectives? And then there's postmodernism, which is sort of like now, where they look at like the media and things like that. And then there's feminists. I'm sure everyone is aware what a feminist is. They're very for like looking at like equality between men and women and like different groups in society. And then there's sort of different branches of feminism. Like, there's radical feminism, who believe like we basically all need to be lesbians. And then there's sort of Marxist feminism, who look at sort of the capitalism side of society. And there's liberal feminists who look at like changing laws and policies to like achieve equality. So yeah, and then there's Weberianism, which I'm not as sort of strong on, but they look at like your class, party and status. So your class is like sort of middle working, lower class sort of thing, and then your party is like your political interests, and your status is, what's your status? I'm guessing that's probably the economical side. And then there's a few other perspectives as well, but I don't want to like bore you with them. So like, when we looked at each sort of different topic, we looked at the postmodernism view of, say, crime, and like the Marxist view of crime, functionalism view of crime, and sort of things like that. And again, in second year of sociology, because in first year of sociology we had 2 teachers, but in second year we had 1, which I found a lot better, because in contrast to psychology, in the first year we only had 1 teacher, but in the second year we had the 2, and obviously the 2 were off sick and stuff, so that was kind of annoying. But in second year of sociology we had 1 teacher who was like amazing. Like, I think it kind of helped as well that she was a bit younger than my other teachers, so she kind of like understood us more and sort of found ways of teaching everyone in the class. Because obviously at A level you don't have sets, so you're just kind of all put in a class and like mixed ability, which I personally quite like. Like, I feel like there's sort of less competition in a way. There's like less labels on you as well, like inputting that sociology knowledge. So yeah, so my teacher Hannah was really good in second year. Like, she helped us all out. Like, she would mark all our essays, and because also I find with 2 teachers, like, you're chopping and changing between different topics, so you don't like take it all in. But at least with 1 teacher you just go through the whole thing, and then you can like kind of reflect on it, revise it, and then go on to the next one, rather than like chopping and changing. I don't know, that's just me personally, but yeah, with sociology I was kind of getting B's and C's throughout the year. Then like right before my A levels, I got an A in one of my exam and like my mocks. I was like, oh my god, I'm actually good at this. So yeah, I feel like throughout the 2 years, sociology has definitely been like my sort of safe option. Like it's been the A level that I've been consistently good at. So yeah, and sort of the reason why I haven't chosen to take it on further, because I feel like, I know this is really bad, but I don't feel like there's like a proper job in it. Like it's really interesting, like don't get me wrong, I can see why people like take it on further, but I wouldn't really want to do a degree that doesn't really lead to like a sort of good job. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but I feel like psychology I can apply it more to everyday life, but sociology I sort of can't. So yeah, and then the third A level, which I took all the way to, like I took all like throughout the 2 years, was English, literature and language. Oh, I forgot to say, I did psychology and sociology on AQA, so they had very sort of similar exam formats, so that made it that was quite good as well to study both at the same time. So yeah, for my third A level I did English, language and literature, and that was on OCR. So in the first year we studied Gatsby, Blake poetry and the anthology. So our anthology has loads of different types of text in it. So we had like a Twitter feed in there, we had a children's TV script, we had like really old sort of diaries and letters and stuff. So that was really the bit I enjoyed the most, because it was sort of like something different every lesson, and it was like really kind of catered for everyone. And in the first year we just had to, on our exam we got asked like to compare two of them together. Then in our second year exam on the anthology we got asked to like compare one of them with an unseen text. So it was a bit trickier in second year, but because I like the anthology, I didn't mind it. And then obviously Great Gatsby, is a really good book, but to be honest I'm so bored of it now because I've like analysed it to death. I'm so glad I don't have to do it anymore, but I can see why they choose it for English, because there's so much you can like look at in it, and there's so much context and history behind it. So yeah, and then William Blake poetry was probably the thing I hated the most in English. Like I just find it a bit like disturbing, the things he talks about. Like it's very like religious, but the theme that runs throughout all the poems basically is like childhood and purity. So it's a bit kind of weird in places, but I guess like everyone's likes different poetry, but for me I'm not a massive fan. Like in GCSE we did conflict poetry, which I found way more interesting than like sort of religious poetry. I don't know, that's just me. And then in second year we actually had coursework for English. Like with psychology and sociology we had no coursework, so it all depends on exams. But in English we had to do a comparative essay on 2 books. So one of the books was Stuart, A Life Backwards, which was like the compulsory one, and we had to compare it to another one of our choice, and I chose The Catcher in the Rye because I quite liked the book, and like there was a lot of like quite good links I could make with that and Stuart, A Life Backwards. So I did that, and I think that was like 1,000 or 2,000 words. Like it wasn't that much. Like I think coursework only accounted for like 20% of our overall grade. So I mean it's good to do well in it, but if you don't get what you want, like it's not the end of the world kind of thing. And then for the second part of our course we had to do like a creative piece, so you could do like a speech, an essay, like a travel diary, or anything really. So anything kind of based on the anthology you could do as a creative piece. So I chose to do a speech on how like social media affects your mental health, because that's a subject that interests me and I know I can write a speech quite well. So I chose to do that, and again I think that was like 1,000 words, maybe 2,000 words. So like coursework wasn't that heavy for English, which I quite liked. So after we'd done all our coursework we started looking at Jerusalem, which is a play by Jez Butterworth, and it's set in like the West Country, and it's about a guy who lives in this caravan, and it links a lot to Blake poetry because one of his poems is called Jerusalem. So yeah, I actually quite enjoy the play because it's kind of more modern, like it's more my thing. And then what else did we study? I'm just looking at my books. Yeah, I think that was it. I don't think there was any other books we studied. So yeah, so we did Blake, Jerusalem, Because I think overall I've just like studied sort of 5 books over the 2 years, which isn't too excessive actually. So yeah. Again, English, I was very up and down my grades. Like first year I was getting like D's and C's, which wasn't the best confidence boost, because at GCSE I was actually okay at English. Like I got sort of B's most of the time. So when I was getting really low grades, I was like, oh my god. So I worked really hard first year. Like every week I was like giving my teacher an essay to mark, and like, please help me get better, but I didn't, and like I really understood. So yeah, that was English. And again, English was the only subject I had the 2 teachers for both years, which I found quite helpful because they sort of knew my strengths and weaknesses and like really helped me out. So I kind of feel with English, like, because it's not a right or wrong subject, like it's not as like pressurizing. Like if you write something different to someone else, like it's not the end of the world. Like the examiner can like interpret it anyway. So it was weird because when I started college I thought I'd like do English as a degree and then do primary teaching, but obviously that will change in the first year. So kind of the pressure was off a bit, and I could kind of just enjoy like looking at the books and stuff. So yeah, I actually didn't mind English, but I know one of my friends who does English Lit and Lang, but on AQA, found her course really hard. So I think a lot of your courses do depend on the what's it called? On the exam board. So yeah, I mean, I feel like everyone's A-level experience is going to be different because everyone's got different abilities, different like interests and stuff. So yeah. And then finally the 2 like other little subjects I did were also the exams in English I didn't really talk about. So with all my subjects in the first year I had 2 exams for each, and then in the second year I had 3 exams for each. So with English we had 1 exam on Gatsby and creative writing, another exam was just on the anthology alone, and then the second exam was on Jerusalem and Blake. So I feel like probably the anthology one went best for me personally, because like as I said, the anthology is what I enjoyed the most and what I felt most confident in. And then I feel like probably Blake went the worst because as I said, I don't really enjoy it, don't really understand it. So but I feel like I did okay in English. Like I didn't come out the exam thinking, oh my god, that went awful. Like, because I know there was definitely, I remember paper 3 psychology and paper 2 sociology, I thought, geez, I've done so bad in these exams. But with English I was like, they've been alright. So yeah. And then in the first year, as I said, I did 4 ASs, and so the AS I did was world development. So that's kind of, it's a bit like human geography basically. So we looked at god, I can't remember like what we did properly. So we looked at like developing countries, like sort of, there was kind of like 2 parts. There was like the sort of human geography side and like sort of the measurement side of it. So it was like Gini coefficient, and like different development measures and things like that, and like sort of politics. And I got a C in that, which I was quite surprised at, because in the first year I found that subject like easiest by a long mile out of all of them. And throughout the years I was getting B's and A's, so when I got a C at the end of the first year I was like, oh. But then I knew I wasn't continuing it, so I was just like, I don't really mind that much. So world development was the only one that wasn't linear, because it's still on like an old specification. I don't think you can do the subject anymore. So if you're looking at colleges, like you won't be able to study world development. Again, I think we had like 1 big paper for world development, which was like 2 hours long. So the first half was like obviously the like sort of human side, like development, and the other side was like the measurement of different things. And when I looked at my results, I found I got an A on the first bit, but like I think a C on the other bit. So somehow I got a C overall, which I was a bit like, really? And then we also did coursework on that subject, so we had like 3 essays we had to write over the year, which weren't too bad. Like again, they were like 1,000 or 2,000 words, which isn't a lot. Like, because I remember at GCSE for drama we did like 5,000 essays, and my EPQ again was like 6,000 words as well. So yeah. So, and obviously the extra thing I did in my second year was my EPQ, and my EPQ was, does the education system help or hinder mental health in teenagers? Obviously that's a very topical thing at the moment, because it's sort of something I've struggled with very much like sort of getting worried about exam grades and stuff, and like just kind of like friendship pressures and stuff. Like it was a subject that really intrigued me, and I could use my psychology knowledge in it, so that's why I did it. And I actually quite enjoyed it. Like when I first started, I thought, oh my god, this looks so much work, but I think it was nice to have a subject where I could just sort of write what I wanted rather than doing everything like to like a strict mark scheme in a way. So with the EPQ, you have your essay, your activity log, which is basically like a weekly diary saying I did I did this week, and like your targets you'd set every week for yourself. Then you have to write a big sort of like sources table and like analyse all the different research you used for your EPQ. And then there was a little presentation at the end which you had to present to like a group of people, and you'd like meet with a teacher every week to like explain what you're doing. He would like explain sort of the next, or he or she would explain the next step. So me and a few of my friends did that. They didn't do theirs in psychology, but I know a lot of them like found it quite beneficial, so so yeah, that was quite good. And probably the best thing that came out of, I really need a drink. Yeah, probably the best thing that came out of the EPQ was I learned how to reference, which I know I'll need to do in university. Like I know I've watched a lot of university videos and they say like I wish I knew how to reference, but I know how to do that now, so yeah, that's good. And we started ours like the summer, like after our AS exam, so like July, and then it will have to be handed in by the February after that. So we were doing that for like 6 or 7 months, and then after February it was literally like done. So I don't know my grade until results day, which is really weird. Like it literally feels like ages ago since I did it, but like I did like I learnt a lot from it. So yeah. So that was my A-level experience. I do realise how long this video has been. I'm gonna have to chop loads of this out, but I hope you enjoyed it. If you do have any questions about A-levels in general or about my subjects I've chosen, please let me know. I'll always reply. And yeah, please like and subscribe if you made it the whole way through. Let me know what you're doing, like where you're starting in September. I'm starting university, if I get the grades. But yeah, I'd love to know like what you guys are up to. So yeah, I'll see you soon. Bye!